Welcome back to my channel. People love to throw around big revenue numbers on YouTube when they're talking about Etsy. My store made $500,000, make $10,000 a month using this technique that I'm going to tell you or sell you a course for. The number I've put on this video, $30 million of Etsy business, is real. It's completely real and it's completely conservative. The actual number is significantly higher than $30 million of business that I've generated with all the clients that I've worked with over the last 8 years in my consultancy. This includes businesses, tiny little family-run businesses that build and grow, up to companies that wanted a presence on Etsy, and I've built and grown their businesses into millions of dollars. So I deal with all levels. And during this 8 years of doing this work, I've come across 5 fundamental pieces of wisdom that I want to share with you guys today, including a couple of things that I've never mentioned before. So brand new to my channel, brand new, full stop to me telling anyone out there these unique pieces of information. So let's get into it. As I move through the tips, they're going to get more impactful and more important. And the last one is something that I've never mentioned anywhere, period, to anybody. So I'm going to give you that right at the end. Let's get into tip number 1. Let's go. Tip number 1 of 5. Etsy does not care about you. And Etsy doesn't care about your business. If your shop goes under, they've got another 10, another 50, another 100 to take your place. This is absolutely critical because you have to understand you have to do what's best for your business and not listen to the noise that Etsy chats to us all the time, especially in our shop manager. You know, when they tell you your shipping price is too high, or we're going to do this, or if you offer a free shipping guarantee, you'll get this, or whatever it is. Etsy does what's best for Etsy. If you so happen to benefit from it as well, great. But they're not thinking about you. They're just thinking about themselves and how to make themselves more money. So the quicker you get into the mindset of not worrying about Etsy and not sort of paying too much attention to what Etsy says, honestly, just don't pay much attention to what they say. Unless it's something super serious, which is obviously true, just don't really listen to them, you know? They just do things that's best for them. Remember when they changed the pictures to squares and now everyone's photos look rubbish? Yeah, they're doing all this for them. You've got to fix it. You go and fix their change. You see? So let's keep focused on our business, ignore the Etsy noise, and let's get into tip number 2. So tip number 2. Over the last 8 years, I've worked on thousands of Etsy businesses, built tons of Etsy businesses that are now profitable and making decent revenue. And something that I noticed whilst doing all this work in the last 8 years is that Etsy really is a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Once you understand that revenue is linked to how much work you put into your store, how many listings you have, how you know, what's the quality of those listings, how do you manage your listings, how many new listings are you putting in every day, every week, every month, what are you doing with the listings that don't work, you just realize it's just sequences of numbers. For example, let me give you proof. Go and find a listing in your store that's selling. Look at the lifetime revenue of that listing or the lifetime stats of that listing, and you will see this every single time. Lifetime sales and lifetime views are locked together in delayed parallel. When sales go up, views go up behind the sales. When sales go down, the views go down behind the sales. This happens every single time in every single store I've ever looked at. It's a numbers game. So when I tell you guys, get to 100 items, you know, 100 items is the magic number. I'm not saying 100 items is the magic number. Of course not. I'm saying to you, if you commit to these numbers, your probably going to see the start of an Etsy business happening before you. If you sit there with 10 items or 20 items, you may not proceed on a business that if you got to 100 items would have shown you a couple of sales and given you that motivation to keep going. Etsy's a numbers game. Bigger stores sell better. Don't take my word for it. Go and look at any store that's got 10,000 sales, 50,000 sales, 100,000 sales or more. Look at how many items they've got. Most of them are well over 100 items. And most of these stores, and I've worked with them, they manage their inventory correctly. More numbers, inventory in, inventory out. Every day doing the same process in their store. It's all numbers. It's all linked together. That's tip number 2. Let's get on to 3. Right, tip number 3, and I know this is going to annoy some people, but you know what? I don't care. I'm here to tell you the truth, not pander to companies and organizations. Just give you the facts. Tip number 3, don't waste your time on SEO. It just doesn't matter that much. Yes, it has a place in the running of your store, but a small place. Small. Not hours and hours each week messing around with websites to find keywords and SEO. You're just wasting your time. You're wasting your time. When your store is new, when you first opened your store, first 6 months of the store's life, that's when SEO is at its most important because you don't have any bargaining chips, quality score to play with. So when it's new, it's at its most important SEO, but even then, it's only of moderate importance. If you sit there messing around with keywords, oh, if I try this, oh, if I use that keyword because this website has said it's got this engagement and, and this click through, it's garbage. Don't waste your time. Don't fall into the trap. SEO is only of moderate importance when you're a new store. And as you build and grow and make more sales, it just gets less and less important. How do I know? Because I've built and grown stores that do hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year. And when I work on these stores and we put items in to the store, do you think that these items are being found because keywords are matching? Of course not. Etsy shows partial matched keywords. It shows single words. It shows no words. It pushes items without keywords. And some of these stores that I work on, their items get 100 views a day on one item or more. That's more than most stores make in a day on all their items. One item. It's because Etsy uses suggestion, recommendation. It's way more complex than keywords. Don't waste time on SEO, which leads nicely into number 4. Tip number 4. Tip number 4 is an observation of working on Etsy stores for the last 8 years and some advice. So first of all, the observation. You will see people on YouTube saying the top 1% of Etsy sellers use this SEO tool, or they use that market analysis tool, or they'll do this, or they'll do that. Okay? I work with the top 0.1%, 0.2, 0.5, 1%. I actually work with these sellers. So I'm talking about sellers that do $100,000 to $5 million a year. I work with them all the time. None of these sellers are using any of these tools. That's the first thing I want you to know. It's garbage. None of them are using tools for SEO and analysis on Etsy. They don't have time. They don't have time. The data's not accurate and they're too busy bringing new items into their store, researching items, looking at what's going on around the world in their market. So don't waste time using these tools. Take that time that you were putting into those tools and move it into a listing plan. So how to build, manage, and basically build, grow and manage the listings in your store. That's where you need to spend your time to make money. Don't waste it on these tools. Get into there, have a listing plan, how you're going to get to 100 listings, how you're going to get to 150 or 200 listings, and then how you're going to manage listings that aren't working, because listings that don't work, they've got to come out of your store. You need to change them. It's just like a real bricks and mortar store. People who run real world stores don't just leave stuff in there. No, after the season's over, more often than not, those items get removed and swapped out for the new season's items. Sure, there's some items that sell all year round. Of course, that's the same in your Etsy store and my Etsy store. But items are constantly moving and rotating. Get into listing management. That's where the money is. Not wasting time on these tools that none of the 1% are using. I work with these guys, they're not doing it. They've got far more important things to do. Right, let's get into tip number 5. This is one I've never mentioned to anybody, anywhere, period. So this is a first for my channel and talking to you guys. So tip number 5. So tip number 5. This is such a fundamental piece of your business pie, but so many people don't realize it. Tip number 5 is make Etsy the smallest part of your earnings pyramid. So you have an earnings pyramid. Doesn't matter what size company you are, if you're a one-man band or you've got 20 members of staff, you have an earnings pyramid. And that is all the components that make up your business and how much money each of those components brings in. And what we would aspire to do is make Etsy the smallest piece of your earnings pyramid. Why? Because even though you control your business, Etsy controls the platform. If you've got Etsy at the top of your earnings pyramid, so your business is Etsy, you don't have a website, you don't have a bricks and mortar store, you don't have another way to sell, your financial risk is so high because at any moment Etsy can close your store, they can suspend a best-selling listing. How many of you have had that happen? You lose a best-selling listing. Etsy never ever give you back the lost quality score from listings and stores that have been wrongly suspended by them. This is the elephant in the room and you have no control over it. You won't have the legal financial money to try and fight for it. And even if you did succeed, it's going to cost you so much money to get those earnings back. So Etsy can do whatever they want, pull the rug from under your store at any time. This is a real headache. It's a worry. People get anxious and quite rightly so. So let's try to make Etsy the lowest rung on our earnings pyramid. Get your own website. Put significant time, energy and resources into that website to get it larger than your Etsy store. You're in control of your website. Etsy can't come in there and make stupid changes that ruin your business. You have control. A bricks and mortar store or somewhere to sell in the real world, you've got control over that. Let's get Etsy in its place. So if you lose Etsy, it's not the end of the world. And I've worked with plenty of clients in the last 8 years that have lost their Etsy business for one reason or another. And you don't want it to be the biggest piece of the pie because that's life-changing and it's not even in your control. So get into my comments. Let me know if Etsy is the biggest piece of your financial pie or whether your website's bigger and it's doing more revenue. If you've got any questions, get into my comments. And remember, there's no excuse not to work with me. I do 5-minute mini consultations for $25. That's about as cheap as it gets you access to me. I can help you get more sales, make more money in your Etsy store. See you in the next video. Cheers.